I think all of us have a little bit of fatigue from the digital world at this point, right? We're all on social media. Some of us enjoy it more than others, but it can be exhausting and overwhelming. We take breaks from that too. Email and digital communication is great for the purpose that it's there for, but sometimes things can get missed there, right? We don't know what mood someone's in. Depending on what mood we're in is how we read or receive that information. And so, people say all the time, do you think the chamber will ever go away because of AI or digital opportunities? And I don't think so, because there's a reason that we all still sit around a table at Thanksgiving and have dinner with family. We're not doing it over Zoom, right? Because people want that face-to-face and that person-to-person connection.
Guess I'm awake now. Timeline reminding me it ain't safe now. Why would I cape now? Too real for...
Welcome to another episode of Knowing and Connected, where connections and relationships lead to success and progress. Today, I'm with Kelly Flannery, CEO of South Tampa Chamber. Mm-hmm. How are you, Kelly?
I'm very good. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well. So, Kelly, with this particular podcast, we really like to focus on how building strong relationships contribute to your journey, whether that's personally, professionally, and being that you are the CEO of the South Tampa Chamber and a close friend, I thought that you would be an amazing person to have on the show.
I'm really excited. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So why don't we start here? So for those that may not know who you are, could you just share a little bit about yourself and how you got to be where you are right now?
Yeah, absolutely. Kelly Flannery. I'm the very proud president and CEO of the South Tampa Chamber of Commerce. I've been here at the chamber for 13 years. It's amazing how quickly time goes by. But born and raised here in Tampa, so like one of the 10 of us that can say that. It's always something unique about you at a networking event is, I'm from Tampa, I'm a Tampa native. But grew up here in Tampa, went to Plant High School, left for about 8 years to do my education at Florida State, and then spent a few years in downtown Chicago before coming back to Tampa in 2008. And previously worked in the hotel and hospitality industry, and then I've been here at the chamber since 2013.
Awesome. Well, I went to school in Cleveland, so I know firsthand what it's like being Florida born and raised and going to the Midwest. So what was your experience, and how'd you like winter?
So it's kind of funny. I always say it was like any relationship. It was very romantic at first. Graduated from Florida State. We had a little bit of colder weather there than we do here in Tampa.
Okay.
But went up to Chicago, and that first winter, everything's exciting. It's a white Christmas. It's beautiful. And then by year 2, I had the clothes. I knew how to layer. I had the winter jacket. By year 3 and 4, it was like, okay, this is life. And then my 5th year living there, I came home here to Tampa for Christmas. I left Tampa, it was 80 degrees. I landed in Chicago, it was -2.
No,
my family had experienced loss the year before, and so it was a hard trip back as it was, but I landed in that -2 degree weather and thought, what am I doing here? Everyone I love and everything I love is back in Florida. And so I enjoyed the experience as a young person. I was in my early 20s to go do that, be independent and go somewhere different and new. I loved living in a city. I loved not driving a car, but came back to Tampa. And so I went into my job that Monday after that Christmas trip to Tampa, gave 30-day notice. And February 2nd, I was on an airplane back to Tampa, Florida with nowhere to live, no plan, no job, but I knew I wanted to be back in Tampa.
That's awesome. Well, I feel you on the, once I stepped foot back in Cleveland at a particular point after being home, I realized this isn't for me.
Yeah.
And I love the part where you made the decision, and regardless of, you didn't have a place to stay, you didn't have anything in place, you made the decision and you made it happen.
Yes.
So I'm wondering, even at that point in your life, how was it with your relationships? Did you lean on your relationships in that situation?
100%.
To get you situated?
100%. So my parents are here in Tampa. We're very fortunate to be surrounded by family here. And so my parents helped to find a place for me to live. I had a great condo over in Hyde Park for a few years, and then just started applying for jobs and looking for things to do. Because of my hotel background in Chicago, when I had come down to Tampa on that same Christmas break trip, I had gone to meet with the general manager of the Marriott Waterside. She didn't have any positions that were open at the time, but I had started to, at that point, think about what would it look like if I came back to Tampa. And I had met with her, and she didn't have anything available for me at that point, but a hotel position opened up at the Marriott West Shore. And so because I had had that conversation with her over Christmas break without the intention of moving that quickly, when I did come back a month or two later, she was able to help set me up with an interview at Marriott West Shore, and that was my first job back here in Tampa.
I love that. I love that. And that's one of the things I really try and touch on within Next Known is planting those seeds, nurturing those relationships, because you just never know.
You never know.
And always leading with the intention of, how can I help make an impact, right? And seeing that come back your way is awesome. So what was it that you really took away from some of the early relationships or just early things in general that you learned in your career?
So after leaving the Marriott West Shore, I went to work at the Center Club, and I was the director of events there for 5 years. And I always say, here in Tampa, for me, the Center Club is my Kevin Bacon. I can lead everything back to the relationships that I made at the Center Club, either through my fellow teammates and employees that I worked with there, or through the members that I met there. It may have even been the first time that you and I met years and years ago, through our membership there. And so that was my first experience outside of business card exchange type networking. That was my first experience of really understanding that relationships are not transactional, and that you want to establish, everyone always use that cliche, know, like, and trust, but it's true, right? It holds true, and it's why we've all said it for so long. And so working at the Center Club was that opportunity for me to really see the same people time and time again, learn about their lives, learn about their families, learn about their jobs and careers. Who can I help connect you to? What is it that you're trying to do, and how can I help you to achieve your goals? And so that experience there was really my first time learning about networking and how that can lead to relationships and then future relationships down the road.
Absolutely. So forgive me, but if I remember correctly, the Center Club is also the pathway which led you to this position. Is that right?
It is. It is, because the South Tampa Chamber has been hosting events at the Center Club since 1996. I believe Anita Ramirez was our president of the chamber at that time. Now we call it our board chair, but it was a volunteer role, and she was also a board member at the Center Club, and she brought us there for our luncheons. And so I met Judy Gay, who was my predecessor here at the chamber, and we did their events for years and years while I was there. And then I took a break. I left the Center Club to work for Front Burner Brands, and then worked for Toffee to Go, Tampa's treasure, Toffee to Go, and realized that I really missed that opportunity to be connected to the community and surrounded by people and the membership experience. So working for Front Burner Brands, which is now Melting Pot and Girlsmith, but that was the parent company, and then working for Toffee to Go were both incredible jobs, but they were very sales oriented. They were very number oriented. It was a lot of conversations on the phone. I had clients that I would never meet in person, and that was the part I really missed. And I ran into Judy Gay on the sidewalk outside of Gigi's Cupcakes. And she said to me, I am looking for someone with a background similar to yours who can come in and reimagine the events that the chamber is hosting, but also who understands the intricacies of a membership organization, because we're managing personalities all day, every day. Do you know someone that would have an interest in that type of position? And I said, I do. And she's standing right in front of you. So we went to lunch about a week or two later, talked about what the position could look like. They had never had someone in that role. It had been Judy as executive director and an admin assistant. They didn't have that person in between, and they didn't have someone that already had established relationships here in Tampa, and especially South Tampa. So we went to lunch, we wrote a job description. She took it to the board of directors, advocated for me after the years that we had known each other and worked together professionally. They approved the job, they approved the salary, and 2 weeks later, I came to work at the chamber.
Wow.
Very serendipitous.
I love that. And I think there are a number of things I take away from that part of your story, right?
Yep.
Number one, of course, the seeds that were planted and nourished throughout your time, they were able to help you in various ways. Your belonging or vicinity to the Center Club, which is a very member-focused club and organization, played a major role. And even to go as far as the job was created for you.
Yes.
Like you have the ability to sit down with someone and basically craft what it is this next phase could potentially look like, and then having them advocate for you when you weren't in the room. Those
Right.
are all major components. That's awesome, Kelly. Thank you for
Thank you.
sharing that.
Yes.
I believe that all of those are extremely important, and I have done my best to ingrain those in the education that NEXTKNOWN provides, because I think in a lot of situations, many people, myself included, yourself included, have been in positions where we weren't in the room, and we had someone that advocated for us whether we knew it or not.
Yes.
And those are all major things that make the difference in you achieving a goal and you maybe falling a little short, right? So let's kind of pivot a little bit and talk more about your experience as the CEO of the South Tampa Chamber, and since you've started your role, how have you seen things grow, progress, and how have the relationships that you've seen within the chamber made a difference in not just the chamber's success, but then the member success?
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen a huge change in the chamber over the past decade. So I came in as CEO in the spring of 2014, and now we're sitting here in spring of 2026, and we have doubled our membership, doubled our staff, doubled our operating budget. And those things are great. But what I really pride myself in is that we have created a sense of community. So inside the chamber and our membership, but then outside the chamber, how can we best connect, communicate, have impact above and beyond just our 650 members? There's 8,000 businesses on the peninsula, and tens of thousands of businesses in Tampa Bay. And so it's really important that we don't get trapped in our bubble of just our 650, because when we have a crisis like a pandemic or a hurricane, we're here working for all of those businesses, not just the ones that we have here. But internally, we really have focused from a culture perspective on providing an inclusive environment where anyone feels welcome. I have members that are a year out of college, and I have members that have been retired for years and remained active within the organization. We have members that were born and raised here in Tampa. We have members that were born and raised in Ohio and other places, and at some point have come to Tampa. Every different career, every different industry. And we really try to make sure that everybody feels they have a place here. And that took a lot of work to get to that point, because it's easy to go to a networking event and talk to your friends and to only engage with the people that you already know and that you're comfortable with. But how do we engage with that person who walked in that no one knows and it's their first time? And we've had to be really intentional about that.
So thinking about the community component, because it sounds like that's you would attribute that to being one of the primary drivers of the growth.
Yes,
is that right?
absolutely.
How have you been able to think outside the box and get people outside of their comfort zones? Were there specific events that you all put together, or was it just the way that you were intentional about trying to connect people, or maybe both?
I think both.
Okay.
The chamber does anywhere from 80 to 100 events per year, and some of them are purely networking focused, and some of them have a different type of focus, but there's always that registration hour or that time where we're giving people the opportunity to connect. I have a stellar team. My employees here at the chamber, my staff, my teammates are incredible. They're open and willing people. They want to get to know you. They want to help you grow your business. They want to know more about you. We also have a really strong board of directors, and then we have an ambassador program. So I have 30 community leaders that are working in tandem with my small team here. There's only 3-4 of us on staff at any time that are representing us as a leadership team inside the organization and out. And I think that makes a big difference. So for our leadership, we have orientation for our board and ambassadors. We teach them general networking skills. We always hope that they're going to bring their own personality to it as well. But something else that we do is we all have the same name tag. I don't have one on today, but it's a white name tag. Our staff are board ambassadors. So when you come to a chamber event, doesn't matter who you meet, you look for that name tag and you know that's someone who's there to help you. And we tell them, actively look around the room. Who is someone you don't know? That's who you want to be talking to. And that's really what that part of networking is all about. from an internal perspective with our membership, we have a Chamber 101, which is a great opportunity for new members to come. It's 20 to 30 people. You're not walking into the big luncheons with 150 people. And that way they feel like they're coming to the larger events already knowing someone. But we really try to actively engage that leadership team that when you see a face in the room you don't know, you want to get to know them. And then how can we help them to be successful?
No, I love that. I love that. So, what about the people that that aren't comfortable in rooms at all? And I'll give you an example. I was interviewing a young woman not too long ago because she was interested in being an intern for my marketing agency, and this was during a time when I was still formulating the idea of NEXTKNOWN, and I asked her just out of the blue, like, hey, so if you had to walk into a room full of people that you had no idea who they were, how does that make you feel?
Yeah.
And with a brief pause, she responded, I'm starting to get anxiety right now just thinking about it.
Absolutely.
Right? So for a person like that, that's maybe a little apprehensive, unsure, maybe a little scared, what are some points, some nuggets of information that you could share with them from your perspective that could help them in that type of situation?
So I am an extrovert married to an introvert. So we experience this in our home
Yep.
all of the time because I often want to bring my husband out to different events, and there's some that he finds more interesting than others. For the networking part, I like to have a buddy, like bring a networking buddy with you, invite a friend to come. It's something that we always recommend, especially to our YPs. So that group of 25 to 35-year-olds, just like I was when I was at the Center Club and I was just learning to get my networking legs under me, bring a buddy with you, bring a networking friend so that you kind of have that place to check back into throughout the event if you need kind of a break. Also, small groups. Occasionally the chamber will do small groups. I do something called Coffee with the CEO, which is exactly what it sounds like. I invite no more than 10 members and we meet at a coffee shop and we just sit and have a conversation just like this. And then both our staff and our ambassadors do one-on-one appointments and meetings as well. We love to come to someone's office and do a tour and get a more hands-on approach and feel for, what their business does and how we can help them. We do offer a lot of online tools as well. So we have private groups on Facebook and LinkedIn that our members can connect with there. Some people are more comfortable with a keyboard and writing and connecting that way or one-on-one through messages. And then also a lot of marketing tools they can do through the website that don't require any connection. That's a little bit more transactional, which I think is what we're talking about. How do we get from point A to point B?
Right.
But, for us as an organization, it's finding from you what are your goals and then how can we assist you with those goals? And sometimes the goal is to learn to network and do more. 80% of our new members that join the chamber put their reason for joining is to be out in the community networking.
I did not know that.
Doesn't mean that they're all good at it or
Right.
that they have experience at it. And so
Right.
that's part of what we're going to help them through.
That makes sense. And I can speak to being a South Tampa Chamber member and joining, and within a matter of days, if that someone is reaching out. Hi, my name is, I am a South Tampa Chamber ambassador, and I would love to sit down and have a chat with you. So, you all do an extremely good job of making sure that you are not only leading the way in the community, but helping to provide guidance where necessary, right? It's just one of those things where people can't be afraid to ask.
Correct.
Right? And I think that's a kind of a good point to segue into is the idea of, how important communication is, right? Not just from a networking perspective, but from your own perspective, right? And you can provide your perspective on this as well, but sometimes chambers can seem very big and very scary, a lot of different people. And from my experience, one of the most important things that I've realized is how important the clarity of my communication is, right? Because if I'm having a conversation with someone and I'm not quite sure, I'm not quite clear, then they're limited on how much they can help me, or maybe they don't fully understand because I don't fully understand, right? So can from your perspective, can you kind of speak to, how important it is to make sure that when you're walking into any situation, whether it be a networking event, something, with the chamber, how important it is to be clear in your communication as you're connecting with people?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think all of us have a little bit of fatigue from the digital world at this point, right? We're all on social media. Some of us enjoy it more than others, but it can be exhausting and overwhelming. We take breaks from that too. Email and digital communication is great for the purpose that it's there for, but sometimes things can get missed there, right? We don't know what mood someone's in. Depending on what mood we're in, is how we read or receive that information. And so, people say all the time, do you think the chamber will ever go away because of AI or digital opportunities? And I don't think so, because there's a reason that we all still sit around a table at Thanksgiving and have dinner with family. We're not doing it over Zoom, right? Because people want that face-to-face and that person-to-person connection. And so I think, especially here in Tampa, because it's so relationship-based, that it is important. And so from the chamber's perspective, it's really asking those questions. When a member joins, it's on the application. Why are you joining? What are your goals? What do you want to get out of it? That information gets relayed to our staff, so that when we're calling to have a conversation with you, it's like we already know you because we have that information that you've shared. We're going to ask you more questions. That information is going to then get relayed to your ambassador. Again, they're going to call you already knowing a little bit of something about you, and we're strategic in how we make those connections. We're going to try to partner you with someone that we know has something in common with you. Maybe it's someone that has a similar interest to you. We see that happen often. We have someone that joins, they have a tie to the military, they want to get engaged with MacDill. We're going to find them an ambassador that's also on the Military Affairs Council. We're not going to put them as an ambassador with someone who's on the membership committee if their interest isn't going out and helping to recruit new members. So we're going to try to find that person that has a connection to you, or who might be a great strategic partner professionally. So sometimes if people aren't comfortable talking about themselves, they are comfortable talking about their business. And so leading with questions like that: who do you want to meet? Who is a helpful referral for you? Who is a helpful connection to you? Who can I introduce you to? And that's often the question that I'll ask someone in the room, especially if it's someone new or someone who seems uncomfortable, is who do you want to meet? Tell me what's your wish list of who you want to meet? What's your goal when you leave this event today? It's not always coming home with 10 business cards. Sometimes it's coming home with one.
Right.
If it's the right one.
If it's the right one, for sure. No, I love that. I love that. And you touched on something that I think is important to address is, AI, right? And, being in the spaces that we're in, we hear AI thrown around a lot in a lot of different situations. And, is AI going to take jobs? Is AI going to do this? And AI is going to do that. But I think that you're right, and I feel the same way, because I'm betting on people, and I'm betting on relationships. I firmly believe that as AI continues to evolve, because it's going to continue to grow, our reliance on AI is also going to continue to grow. But simultaneously, our need and reliance on this is going to be just as, if not more important. I actually did a blog article on my website not too long ago, but basically it was touching on the idea that AI is making things easier to do. So in the sense, some work is getting cheaper, but the value of authenticity and the connection is now becoming where the value lies, right? Would you agree with that?
I do. And I think if we were to sit here and have the same conversation, let's say 10 years from now, yes, I think AI is going to continue to progress. I think social media is going to continue to grow. All of the digital resources that are at our fingertips, including some that haven't been invented or that we don't even know about yet. But I also think that 10 years from now, or it could be less years from now, I think at some point we're going to see it go backwards. I think people are going to want to get back to the basics. How excited are you when you get a handwritten note in the mail?
Yeah, it stands out.
Okay, so you get a stack of envelopes, and and in that envelope is a bill, something else, maybe not, and a magazine, and then an envelope with someone's handwriting on it. What's the first thing you're going to open?
Well, I'm going to open that one. I'm not going to open the bill.
Right, and then what are you going to do with it after you open it?
I'm going to look at it.
You're going to look at it, read it. You might put it somewhere. I have a bulletin board over here of some really kind notes from some individuals that I respect. And so when I'm having a bad day, those are the notes that I'm looking at, right? That's kind of like that's like my hype wall over there. It's a picture, the first picture my son ever drew, and then some notes from some dear friends. So that's my hype wall when I'm having a bad day. And it's always somewhere where I can see it. But when you get your email box and you have 100 emails, how are you picking the first one? It could be by date, it could be by client, it could be by name, like, but you're overwhelmed by it. But not when you get that handwritten note card. You're going to take a minute to enjoy it and savor it and save it, right? And then you're going to remember that person.
Very true.
And next time you see them, you're going to say, oh my gosh, I got your note. Thank you so much. So I think those in-person interactions, I think over time we're going to see grow. Those handwritten notes, more personalized service, concierge type services, because people are going to crave that human connection and that wish to go back to the basics. What was life like, before the internet, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we're at a certain age where we grew up without computers and internet, but as we became adolescents, for me, it was college by time I had my first computer, my first cell phone, my first email address. So I grew up completely without the digital world,
Technology,
other than,
yes, we know it,
a TV with antennas and,
I remember
the
that.
centipede game, I had an Atari,
yep,
right?
yep.
So I think over time we're going to see people go back. I think people are going to be nostalgic for what things used to be. And especially in the workplace, if we're inundated with this digital technology, that once we get home or outside of work relationships, I think we're going to see go back to the basics. People are going to want that person-to-person interaction.
I have to say, we're already there.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I remember some months ago when I was actually on my computer and I was trying to figure things out on how I wanted to build NEXTKNOWN and what things that I want to look at to help give me some ideas, right? And I came across, I don't remember exactly if it was Good Morning America or USA Good Morning, one of those early morning shows, right? They were talking about adult summer camps.
Oh, wow.
So, like, you remember going to camp, like, off in the woods, log cabin, canoeing on the lake.
Yeah, I was not that girl, but I know what you're talking about.
S'mores around a campfire. That's what they were doing.
Yeah.
And these are all adults, like 30s, 40s, like well into their careers. And the number one thing that they all mentioned, well, for the ones that were interviewed, was connecting and working from home. And, it sounds great, but they started to crave being around people and having fun experiences with other people. So in that moment, I realized things are starting to go backwards, because who would have thought that people long removed from their childhood, well, that's the wrong way to say it.
Who have experienced life since childhood.
People who have grown up and they've experienced life are reverting to a point to where they just want to go to summer camp and have a good time because they spend so much time on their computer and disconnected from people. So no, we're there.
My husband and I actively seek out places for vacations where we can disconnect. I am not an outdoor person. That's not me.
Okay.
But we try to every 2 years or every 3 years do a trip to Europe with the intention, one, to learn history and see outside, places and what does the world look like. But two, because we're not connected there. Unless we're in the hotel room on Wi-Fi, my cell phone plan doesn't work if I'm, strolling down the street of Belgium. And so we actively seek out places and things for those times that we are wanting to dedicate, to just our family, to be away from it. We have time in our home that is no electronics, put your phone down, unplug, things like that with our child. But from the connection standpoint and how sometimes the technology can assist us with that, I hate to always go back to the lessons learned during COVID and the pandemic, especially because it was such a difficult time for so many people to maybe not want to remember that time. But the chamber converted from full in-person events, staff in the office, community service, to fully virtual within 24 hours. So we got the safer at home orders from the governor, and within 24 hours, my entire team was at home, ready to work, ready to serve our members. During that first 6 months, we did hundreds of communications. We were sending stuff out sometimes before it came out in the media because of the calls and the things we were on. So the communication piece from a digital perspective was great, social media, email, whatever. But where our members found the most value that year was through the virtual programming that we did. So we had to convert everything into virtual programming. We did 80 virtual opportunities in 6 months.
Wow.
So sometimes 2 or 3 per week. Every single event we did, we were able to convert into an online virtual program via Zoom, which I was not an early Zoom adapter. I did not learn to use Zoom until that first day working at home. And I think that's probably the case for a lot of people, especially of a certain age. But that year, in the middle of a pandemic where many businesses were closed for the better part of the year, and we hear stories all the time about people losing their jobs, the financial crisis that we were in coming out of that, the chamber had our highest year for membership renewals, both by percentage and revenue. And the reason why is because no matter what happened, we continued to connect people. And while we did educational programming, we had, I think, 40 of those 80 programs were webinars and teaching people various skills, especially as we were coming back out of the pandemic. But many of those programs were what we called a Zoomie hour, where we would put 50 people on a Zoom and they were told to bring a cocktail and be online from 4 to 6 p.m. And sometimes we would have 10 people and sometimes we would have 40. And we would go around and everyone would share. And we weren't sharing, tell us what's happening at work this week, give us your 30-second commercial. We were sharing, how are you? How are you doing today? What's going on with your family? What do you need? And we hear from members all the time that there were people who were here in our community that the only connection they had to the outside world, outside of their home or their family, was that once a week they were attending a chamber happy hour on Zoom.
Wow. That's huge. And
it was familiar faces, people they knew, people they were comfortable with, and people they felt comfortable to be vulnerable with and say, you know what, I'm not having a good day today.
Yeah. No, I think that that's huge. And I'm sure at the moment you didn't realize how huge it was until after the fact and you got that feedback. And I think the authenticity and the vulnerability are the things that I think really bring people closer together. Because it's easy to go to a networking event and say, hey, how are you? I'm good. Okay, great. Boom. But to have those moments and to really have those people that you can look in the face and say, you know what? I'm not doing that great today. You know, maybe this happened or maybe that happened. Or you know what? I may not want to talk about it, but, you know, if you pray for me, you know, because I need it.
Yeah.
Right? I think that those are the things that because of just life, we've gotten away from. And I think now it's going to be important for people to tap back into that because of all the technology. The humanity is really needed for sure. Wow, Kelly, this has been awesome. I really appreciate you. I really appreciate your time. Before we wrap up, is there anything that we didn't talk about or anything at all that you would like to discuss that you think is worthy?
No, I think this was a great conversation today. And I just really believe that going forward, we're going to continue to see people want to connect in different ways. And sometimes that might be through an experience like an adult summer camp. It might be through just those conversations of asking someone, how are you? One of the things I've tried to be really intentional with recently, even if it's the checkout person at the store, is they say, hi, how are you? And making sure that I am present in the moment. I'm doing great today, and how are you? And really taking the time to listen back to their response. There's so many times where you say something to someone and their response back to you is not what you asked, and it's because we're all kind of in our own bubbles, in our own place. And so my goal for 2026 has really been to be intentional and to be present in those conversations and relationships, whether they're 30 seconds or 30 years.
I like that. I like that. I do have one more question. So being the CEO of the South Tampa Chamber.
Yes.
So for the young professional or the business owner or even the person going to work every day looking to grow, make progress, or make change, right? If you could give them one piece of advice to help move their career forward, what would it be?
Oh, wow. I think there's so many things, especially if you're talking about different generations of people, right? They're all kind of looking for different things. But I think at the end of the day, you just have to show up. So, and it doesn't mean showing up at a chamber event or at a networking event, but it's just showing up in your life and the relationships that you have and the people who are important to you. There's always going to be another email. There's always going to be another, something to scroll on social media. There's always going to be something else, but really just showing up for the people that you love and the people who are important to you and being present in that time together. There's always going to be, everything else can always wait, but there's always going to be that person-to-person relationship. There's that saying, people won't, at the end of the day, remember what you do, but they will remember how you made them feel. And I think I try to live by that as much as I can.
Awesome. Well, again, Kelly, this was awesome. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you all for those of you that have tuned in and listening to the episode on Apple or Spotify. Till next time.
Bye.
Guess I'm awake now. Timeline reminding me it ain't safe now. Why would I cape now? Too real for